I'm Mike Costello, and I'd like to talk to you for a few moments. One of the unique things that this cabin had was a front porch. And during the week or two that I would be there, we would enjoy sitting out on the front porch, something that not many of us do much anymore. In the 40s and 50s and probably before, the front porch was a great source of gathering, a great source of strength for community and family. But something's happened along the way as we've moved into the modern and technological age in which we find ourselves. With all of the stress and all of the strain and the difficulties that we have, we've moved away from the front porch of life, and we've moved into the backyard and into the patio. Front porches and patios are totally different places in relationship to the house. The front porch, of course, is on the front of the house. It faces the street. It looks out to what's happening outside of the house. But the backyard and the patio is an enclosed area. It is an area that seems safer, more secure, and away from the trials and difficulties of life. In the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there was a sense of community among most neighborhoods and cities that's different than what we experience today. We still have that feeling, but we have it in a totally different way, and we direct it differently. And what I would suggest is that we need to balance our lives between the front porch and the patio. There are times when we need to be in the backyard and the patio, but we also need to have times when we get back on that front porch. When I was at the cabin in June Lake, I would sit on the front porch and I would look out at what was happening in the area around. I would see nature. I would see the people coming and going who had adjacent cabins. I would see other people and wave and acknowledge them. I would see nature, whether it would be a squirrel or a bird, and I would see a view of life. If I moved to the back of the cabin, my view of nature remained the same, but what happened was my ability to interact with others changed dramatically, because in the backyard of that cabin, in the patio area, it was only my family, it was only my circle of friends who were there. It wasn't the larger circle of people from all walks of life. In the 1960s, my grandmother bought a house, and it was a modern house for that time. It was a brand new house. And it had something very unique. It had a living room that was in the back of the house. And I think it was in about that period of time when architecturally we began to move the life that we had from the living room in the front of the house to a living room, or a family room as it came to be known, or a den in the back of the house. But this was kind of in that transitionary period. And I can remember how perplexing it was to me as a young adult to go into this house, so accustomed to walking through a front door into a living room that faced out into a street, and instead walking into a hallway that went to the back of a house, and then at the back of the house to have this massive living room that looked out onto this private patio where all of the family activities took place. There are times when all of us need to be in the backyard, when we need to be away from other people, when we need to remove ourselves from the stress and the strain and the challenges and circumstances of life, when we need to surround ourselves with loved ones and with family, or maybe even go into the backyard patio by ourselves. But one of the things that we need not do, and that we ought to protect ourselves from doing, is retreating into the patio and spending all of our leisure and free time in that patio because we are so tired, so exhausted, so afraid, and so unwilling to continue to deal with life on the front porch. Few of us are called out of life. Most of us, through the infinite providence and divine providence of God, are called into the world. We're called into this life. We're brought here with a task, with interactions that need to take place, with relationships that need to be completed, that need to be connected, and with duties and responsibilities that need to be performed. If we are going to be the interactive people that God has called us to be, then we need to be able to relate to and deal with each other. And we need to limit how it is and where it is that we retreat from other people. Kind of a midway between the backyard patio and the front porch is the old traditional living room on the front of the house. And some people can remember parents or aunts or friends or neighbors or someone who used to sit in that living room and look out the window and kind of watch what was going on in the world. That's a different position to be in life. That's one that steps back out of life and looks out into the experience rather than participating in it. A lot of us have moved from that place of sitting in the living room and looking out at life into the technological abilities that we have to do that. And so we watch television, or we go to the movies, or we read books, or we do any number of things to escape and to remove ourselves from the direct interaction that we have with other people. And yet, in watching that television program, in viewing that movie, in reading that book, we are a part of the activity that's going on, but we're not an active participant. We are watching it as opposed to participating in it. The magnificent thing about a front porch was, and is, that you can sit on the front porch, you can stand on the front porch, and life goes by. There's life out there. And you have the ability to speak to it, to raise your hand to it, to interact with it. And that's what we're called to do, to raise our hand, to embrace other people, to interact with the realities of our brothers and sisters in this human experience. I don't know how often you retreat to the backyard, to the patio. I don't know whether you're the kind of person who enjoys in the great scheme of life sitting on the front porch. But I would submit that while we need the family, and the family is infinitely important in the interaction that we have to create community, it is only through the interaction that we have between families and individuals that true community comes about and is a reality. A family is exclusive. A church is exclusive. A club is exclusive. An employer is exclusive. Those are groups of people in which you find yourself and I find myself, and they have their meaning and their purpose. But all of these groups must interact and become one with the larger community. And we are called as spiritual beings to be interactive one with another, to be interdependent one upon another, to sustain and to help and to be with other people. Whether you feel like you want to be in the patio or the backyard, or whether you feel like you want to be in the living room, where we truly need to be is on the front porch of life. We need to be there where we can communicate with others, where we can relate to them, where we can be part of the larger community. The wonder of what's happening today in this new age as we move from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age, as we make this magnificent transition of spiritual awareness and social and cultural interaction, we're seeing a wonderful unity in our diversity. Different people, different faiths, different political belief systems, different nationalities, all coming to understand and interact better with each other. This is a wonderful time in which to be alive. It is a magnificent time in world history in which to be able to be a part of what is happening. Even though there are difficulties, even though there are challenges in the world and among the peoples of the world, we are called at this point in time to move ourselves toward unity one with another. And the infinite reality is that God's love is pulling us all together. The reality is that the love of God is pulling all people, all communities, all nations into unity and interaction one with another. And that magnificent experience is going to create a richer, more fulfilling world for you and for me and for all of the succeeding generations. And so I invite you to take a look at your own life, to examine your thought process and decide whether it is that you prefer to stay in the backyard patio or whether you need to be more on the front porch of life. I think you'll find the front porch to be a comfortable place to be, the place where you need to be and where you are called to be by the divine and infinite intelligence of God. We believe in prayer as a healing and centering force. And so we'd like to invite you at this point in the program to pause with us for a moment of reflection and a time of meditation. Eternal God, we gather our hearts and minds together and give you great thanks for the love that draws us together, that draws us, family and neighbor, community, nation, one to another. We ask that you would allow us to live our lives in the front porch, in the experience of interacting with all of your children, loving and sharing and being one with another. We ask these things in the name of faith, in the name of hope, in the name of love. Amen.
The front porch has become many things in our lives today. The radio, television, clubs and organizations, more schooling available in various facets of our lives. All those have taken the place of the front porch. So people don't have time for the front porch, but we still have time to help each other and to be loving and caring of each other.
That's true.
And so the patio has been a welcome addition, and that has become our patio.
Mm-hmm. And the things that you mentioned, the classes and all of the things that you laid out so beautifully that have become the front porch really do isolate us in many ways.
Yeah.
And what we have to be cautious of is that those things that isolate us and that set us apart, even though there is a time to be apart, there's a time to be in a club, there's a time to be in a political party, there's a time to be in a church, there's a time to be in a school. But we need to be cautious that the time that those groups isolate us don't totally isolate us, and that the group has a responsibility to interact with the larger community.
Yes, and it's caring for others. That is the bottom line. And my front porch is rarely used except to come and go. And one night last week, I left home at 5:30 in the evening and didn't return until midnight. There was a call on my answering machine from my neighbor saying, if there's something we can do to help you, give us a quick call. We don't know why those policemen are running back and forth in front of your house. Well, I didn't, and why 2 police cars there in front of your home. So I didn't know either. And I was quite perturbed because there was no other messages on my answering machine in relation to that incident. And I called the burglar alarm company, and they didn't have any record of the burglar alarm having been activated. And so that's one time my front porch became a very helpful substance, because if there had been trouble, then my neighbors would have been right there to have helped me. And that's a wonderful thing. So even though we've retreated to our patios, we still have in all the communities those who care and those who look out for each other. And that's essentially what the front porch was in those days, a means of communication.
And you made a wonderful analogy. I'll use it in a future talk or sermon, if I may, because what you said was the front porch at your house has become a place for coming and going.
Right.
And I think that's a wonderful evolutionary analogy. You know, in the 30s and 40s and before, there was a slower pace and people would sit on the front porch.
Yeah.
We picture that rocking
Yeah.
chair on the front porch. But now, it even takes us a step further in the process of evolution and our becoming what and who we are, by the fact that that porch isn't a place to sit anymore and interact by simply saying hi neighbor and waving, but it is now a place to come and go.
Yes.
That causes us to go out into the world,
Right.
and to directly interact with other people.
Yes, and because evolution has been stepped up, because we're all so much more busy, and rightly so, then there was not the time to sit on the front porch anymore. There are other things to occupy our time in order to fulfill our destiny on the planet during this period of time.
Mm-hmm. But it's hard to fulfill that destiny if we stay in the back.
Exactly. We have to interact with others, and then most of us do. I know in our country we're noted for our philanthropy, for the volunteer hours that people give. And we all do that. I know you do, I do, everyone does give volunteer hours. There are people right here today helping us, giving volunteer hours, and that's such a wonderful thing that we help each other throughout life. And that's what the front porch used to do, but now we do it in other ways.
Mm-hmm. But it's important that we do it. And so many today aren't doing it.
Right.
And that's the tragedy. And we see so many religious groups that are so isolated.
Yes.
And so many spiritual groups that are so isolated. And one of the things that we promote in New Thought is the interaction and the interdependence of all religious faiths and traditions. It doesn't matter what church people belong to, what their religious background is. It has some great and wonderful good for them, and it is worthy of our mutual respect and our love and admiration, regardless of whether it is in alignment with what we believe.
Yes. Well, when things become convoluted, then they become distorted. There's something that, when you were just now speaking, reminded me. There's a lot of people are talking about the kombucha mushroom. It creates something called Manchurian tea that's been used in the East for many, many years, for centuries, and now different people are talking about it. There was something about it on Nightline recently, and there's been a lot of talk in every aspect of the media about the kombucha mushroom. And my son gave me one, and it's a large mushroom, and it conforms to the size of the vessel in which you put it. And it grows for a week, and then you drink the liquid from that. But because it conforms to the vessel in which you put it, then if you put the one that's grown larger in a smaller container, it becomes convoluted. And that's what happens in our society when people don't join in and participate in life and participate in every way they can. Their lives become convoluted. And I made the mistake of putting one, and these mushrooms have baby mushrooms every week. So I put one that was quite large in a smaller container, and it just curled up within itself. And that's a good analogy of what happens when we don't stay the way we've grown, to the dimensions to which we have grown. We grow to a certain dimension. If we don't continue growing, and if our society doesn't continue growing, then it convolutes, and that's not good.
And the growing experience is what makes the mushroom
Right.
enlarge, and it makes our
Right.
consciousness enlarge,
Yes.
and our being become larger and larger.
Right. And that's part of going out from the front porch to into the world. And then the patio is very essential in our lives. We need time for introspection. We need time to just get in touch with the inner within ourselves, with God the whole. And if we don't retire to the patio, either figuratively or literally, then we don't have that to give out to others. And we need this time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Meditation and prayer are
Right.
patio experiences.
Exactly.
And wherever you pray, it is a recharging.
Yes.
It is an opportunity to connect with that which is divine. And it's something that we all need.
Yes, yes. And our patio can just be one small space, or it can be quite large with a garden attached. But whatever it is, we need to keep it beautiful and have the beauty there for us to charge our batteries, to be renewed. And we can have beauty in small spaces or large spaces, but we need to surround ourselves with that beauty on our patios in our introspective time.
Mm-hmm. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Very important. And both the patio and the front should be beautiful.
Yes.
And our view of the front sometimes needs to be deeper in order to see the beauty.
Yeah.
It's sometimes difficulty to see the beauty in some people or some circumstances, but we're challenged to do that.
Yes. And we can take that sense of self or consciousness to other areas, and it can figuratively be the patio. We go to the seashore, we go to the mountains, people go to the desert, some go scuba diving, some go all kinds of sports and all kinds of activities. But whatever we do, then we do it for renewal. And if it doesn't renew us, then it's good to start some other endeavor, because we need that time of renewal. We need the time on the patio in our lives, and if we don't have it, then we become stagnant, and we don't function as well.
And that time on the patio and that time of renewal is usually when we get our greatest inspiration and our most magnificent direction.
Yes.
Because we're more connected to infinite intelligence. We're more open, if you will, to the presence and the messages that God has for us when we get out of the problem, when we move away from the problem and allow ourselves to relax. I mean, the best places we get ideas probably is in the shower, or
Yes.
driving the car, or washing dishes, or pruning the flowers, or doing something. But it's when we get out of the way, and then we're inspired, we get ideas
Yes.
that are divinely brought to us, and then we need to get up from our meditation, our prayer, our reflection, or our patio, and go out into the world and act upon them.
And do what we need to do. And the running water changes the vibratory rate of the atmosphere, and that helps us to bring through the energies from the inner planes of being. And that's an important thing for us to remember.
Which is why showers are a wonderful source of answers to life.
Yes,
So.
yes. And that's in every way, both literally and figuratively. If we think about life in that way, we can see that every aspect of life is so very important. And I know that business people, when they go away on holiday or just go away on a business trip, always come back with a new idea, something new to do. And when we're housewives and mothers of young children, when that's their sole responsibility, need time away from their responsibilities. We all need time away from our day-to-day responsibilities for renewal, and that's part of the patio aspect of life.
Renewal is vitally important because we have to continually recharge our batteries and allow ourselves to get out of the kind of monotonous mode that we get into of believing that things are the way that we see them.
Yes.
Because the reality is that things are always in balance and harmony, and life is progressing just as it should. But that's hard to believe and understand sometimes.
Yes. We forget the larger picture because we're looking so closely at the smaller picture, too close in. And that's an important aspect of our patio experience, is to be able to look out at the world in a comprehensive way and help others, just as those people who sat on their front porches helped each other in those days. And I don't think they helped each other any more than we do today.
No, but they had that connectiveness.
Right.
They knew each other.
Right.
I know one of the things we hear so often is, I don't know my neighbors.
Yes.
I don't even know what their names are. And I don't know that. I think there's value in knowing people, and I don't think that people who don't know their neighbors have any spiritual deficit.
Yes.
But I think that that interaction with people around us is very important. And if it begins in the neighborhood and near the home, and if children are taught that, and if we create that vibration of wanting to connect. Your neighbors are an example. Yeah. They saw something happen at your home, they were concerned, and so they connected with you. It would have been just as easy in a detached circumstance for somebody to say, oh, that lady next door or across the street had the police over there,
Yes.
and then to forget about it and never
Right.
call you.
Yes, and not offer to help and not see if they could help. And I rarely see those neighbors. They're wonderful neighbors and they're good friends, but I rarely see them because we each have a different lifestyle. But it's good to know that they're always there and that they're able to look out from their kitchen window to my front porch and to the front of my home. And that's what life is all about, looking out for others.
The wonderful thing that I think is happening in terms of our sense of community, going from the family and the environment of the home into the larger world, is the homogeneous aspect that we have now of religions and politics. The world has really become a much smaller place, and we're coming to respect each other and to care for each other in totally new ways. It used to be that we could understand the people in our neighborhoods, but not the people in the world. Now we're understanding the people around the world as well as we did the people in our own neighborhoods.
And we don't have any choice but learn about other people in all aspects of life, in all areas of the world, because we are coming into this. And there's a lot of political controversy about the New World Order, One World Order, and there's always negative and positive to every new change. But what is inevitable is that we are changing into a one-world society, and we have to care about those throughout the world. And that doesn't mean we have to support them in every way, but we have to support them mentally. We have to hope for their good and pray for their good.
And understand also that there is a divine plan that is coming into reality.
Yes.
And that divine plan is pulling us together and making this world a much smaller place.
Has made it that way, and if we don't accept it, then we're behind in the times. It's not that the world is behind, we're behind.
And we'll get it right.
Right.
Because God is always good at teaching us the lessons that we need. And so if we don't come to understand and embrace each other, we'll just get more and more opportunities to do that.
Exactly. And on television today, I think we're seeing more and more programs that are positive in their aspect of being than we did for a while. And that's a very good thing, because so many people watch television. And people are becoming, I believe, more discriminating. If the shows aren't what they want to watch, they are able to turn it off, where people used to be more the couch potato, not turn off the TV, but just complain about it. And so we've become more discriminating.
We have, and more informed.
Right.
We have more diversity. And we used to have, 5 or 6 channels, and now we have 100+ channels.
Yes,
And
there's a wealth of knowledge on those channels. And now, and right here in Long Beach, we've gotten new channels, and like you said, the information is phenomenal. The computer world is a whole new world for so many people, because they have those various programs available that you can subscribe to the program that gives you invaluable information from the universities and the libraries. And that was so unheard of until just recently.
Mm-hmm. It's a new age.
Yes, yes. It is indeed a new age. And it's a wonderful new age. And we need to always remember that it is a wonderful new age, and not denigrate the times, but say, yes, times have changed and some good things have gone by, but more good things have happened and more good things are in the offing. We can look forward to more and better changes. And it's important that we help form those changes through our thinking.
And
as you say, we live in our minds and not in our bodies.
We live in our minds, and we need to understand that the changes that are taking place are the changes that are needed for the planet. And we also need to understand that regardless of what we see or what we hear with our human eyes and human ear, that there is a divine plan that is undergirding and strengthening us totally and completely. And regardless of what appears in the outer, there is an inner spiritual plane of existence that's keeping us peaceful.
And things are not what they seem. It's what we make them.
Things are not what they appear to be.
Right.
And all of the negative aspects of life that we see really can be made to be very, very positive.
Yeah.
Positive and loving, and that's what we all need to become more of and better at. The Reverend Freelander and I have enjoyed sharing these ideas of confident living with you, and we invite you to apply them to your lives, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Confident living, banner of might, comes from the Spirit with glorious light. Confident living cleanses my soul, giving the Spirit fullest control. Confident living rights every wrong. Dynamic power helps me be strong. Confident living comforts my heart. From such a blessing I can't depart. Confident living helps me expand visions of value the kingdom at hand.